welcome back to Mexicali Fish Keeper. Today I finally got around to start working on the undergravel filter system for that 150 that I'm setting up for my wife's tank. And I just kind of wanted to share with you guys what it is that I'm trying to build. Because of the dimensions of this tank, they don't sell your traditional undergravel filters that you can just buy off the shelf. I went on to Amazon and they showed some tiles you can put under. And I guess they work, but since I'm going to be putting a little bit of weight with the hardscape I'm going to be using, I wasn't sure if they were going to hold up. And there's no way for me to be able to see how sturdy that plastic is, that I decided to build my own. And it's based off of some ideas that I've seen on YouTube, but I've kind of added a couple other things. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn you guys around so you can see what it is that I'm working with, and I'll kind of walk you through the process of what I'm gonna do and the ideas behind it, and then we'll show you the execution and see if it's gonna work. So this is gonna be a learning experience for me. If I make any mistakes, hopefully I can share those with you, that if you decide to do this, you guys don't fall on the same traps that I do. All right, so let me turn you guys around so you can see what it is that I'm doing. It's where I'm going to be drilling some holes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start drilling out all the holes that I need. Once that's done, I'll show you what it's going to look like, and then I'll also assemble it before I put it in that tank. And hopefully, and yeah, that tank needs a serious cleaning before I even do anything too. I've got most of the salt residue that was on it. I still have a little section down here that I got to get down and clean. I couldn't reach it, so I ended up buying this little scrubber here. I guess this was designed to scrub out toilets and stuff like that, but it's going to work for me because it's an extendable wand with a non-scratching scrubbing pad on there. So hopefully that'll work. I'm doing that, and like always, I'm working in the room and listening to the YouTubers on whoever's got a live stream. That's Fishimon and B-Wiz. Shout outs to you guys. And let me get back to what I was doing, and I'll show you once I've got all this drilled out and assembled. Okay, so here's what I got. Remember, I cut these down. For my aquarium, I figured that 19 inches was going to be long enough to be able to fill that frame in the bottom of the aquarium, and it gave me room to add the elbows. And I think with the elbows I get a clearance of about 23 inches. So it roughly gives me about half an inch of space from the inner wall, and be able to fill it in with sand so this won't be visible. So the concept was this: I was gonna build it like this, but there's no way for that water to be able to get into the system. So what I ended up doing was ended up drilling holes, so that way it has the ability to let the water go into the system and be able to get filtered through there. Again, this is going to go underneath this to create that void. So this is going to allow that water to be able to move in the plenum. The whole object of the plenum is to get slow water movement in that void. So I'm figuring these holes are small enough, and that with the lift that it's going to create, it'll just generate that slow draft that it's going to be able to need to be able to allow the plenum to do its function. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these pipes. I have 9 that I need to do, and I'll show you what it looks like once I put it together. Okay? Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back to Mexicali Fish Keeper. Today I finally got around to start working on the undergravel filter system for that 150 that I'm setting up for my wife's tank. And I just kind of wanted to share with you guys what it is that I'm trying to build. Because of the dimensions of this tank, they don't sell your traditional undergravel filters that you can just buy off the shelf. I went on to Amazon and they showed some tiles you can put under, and I guess they work, but since I'm going to be putting a little bit of weight with the hardscape I'm going to be using, I wasn't sure if they were going to hold up, and there's no way for me to be able to see how sturdy that plastic is, that I decided to build my own. And it's based off of some ideas that I've seen on YouTube, but I've kind of added a couple other things. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn you guys around so you can see what it is that I'm working with, and I'll kind of walk you through the process of what I'm gonna do and the ideas behind it, and then we'll show you the execution and see if it's gonna work. So this is gonna be a learning experience for me. If I make any mistakes, hopefully I can share those with you, that if you decide to do this, you guys don't fall on the same traps that I do. Alright, so let me turn you guys around so you can see what it is that I'm doing. Okay, here in front of you I have all the stuff that I'm going to be needing to make this undergravel filter. I went and bought some 8 crate diffuser, and that's going to be the foundation of the undergravel filter. But obviously there's going to be an issue because those holes are, I think, 1 inch by 1 inch, and anything that I put on top of that is going to seep right through it. So in order to address that issue, I also bought some screen meshing that I'm going to lay on top of it. So you know, that should prevent that from happening. Like in the past, on the other ones that I've done, I've used some of this plastic lattice, this stuff right here. But because I'm going to need a much bigger piece, I decided to go with the mesh screen for that, and we're going to see how it works out. I also have some PVC pipes. The dimensions of the tank that I'm going to be doing are 2 feet by 4 feet. Well, the height doesn't matter. And when I got the 8 crate, I was thinking, great, I'm just going to be able to slide that in there and it'll be perfect. I'll cut out this part right here where I have that indentation, and it'll be all one solid piece. Well, little did I remember that the only openings I have are those right there. So I'm not going to be able to insert the entire piece like I originally was planning on. I'm gonna have to cut it into sections. So the idea behind what I'm going to try to do as a support for this is pretty easy. It's basically going to be this right here. It'll be a sections where I have a tube, but then it comes around and it'll loop sort through the entire base of the aquarium, and then that should allow me to support this on top of that and creating that void that I'm going to need for that plenum. My dimensions for this are going to be very different from whatever you guys decide to do, because the tank is totally different. But in my case, what I ended up doing, I ended up cutting these, I think, at 19 inches. And I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them to cover the entire length of the bottom, because I'm going with 5-inch sections, and that's including 5 inches. I cut these at 3, and with the elbows on there, that space that this generates is going to give me those 5 inches I'm looking for. So that's what the idea is. And then also, in order to be able to get the water to go into there, I don't know if you can notice, but I've on these sections of pipe, I put some tick marks where I'm going to be drilling some holes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start drilling out all the holes that I need. Once that's done, I'll show you what it's going to look like, and then I'll also assemble it before I put it in that tank. And hopefully, and yeah, that tank needs a serious cleaning before I even do anything too. I've got most of the salt residue that was on it. I still have a little section down here that I got to get down and clean. I couldn't reach it, so I ended up buying this little scrubber here. I guess this was designed to scrub out toilets and stuff like that, but it's going to work for me because it's an extendable wand with a non-scratching scrubbing pad on there. So hopefully that'll work. I'm doing that, and like always, I'm working in the room and listening to the YouTubers on whoever's got a live stream. That's Fishimon and BWiz. Shout outs to you guys. And let me get back to what I was doing, and I'll show you once I've got all this drilled out and assembled. Alright, so I finally managed to get that DIY undergravel part of the filter that I wanted to do, the underlayment. I'll go ahead and show you guys real quick what it is that I ended up doing. So let me go ahead and turn you guys around. Well, here you have it. The base of the undergravel filter, what's in the space that's going to help me create the void, is going to be this 3/4 inch PVC pipes. And what I ended up doing was I did a series of elbows and loops to try to create some space where I can sit the 8 crate on top and also be able to have a void for that plenum. What I ended up doing, I don't know if you can pick it up on there, is I drilled the sides of those pipes, and that's where the water is going to be going in, and that's going to be the lift tube that's going to be in there. But this is basically the principal idea. What I'm working on now is try to figure out how I'm going to get the 8 crate in that space in there, because the whole top is not open. So I figured I got 19 inches at a diagonal. So I'm going to have to cut the 8 crate into 3 sections and hopefully be able to fit it in that way. And once I have it in here, I'll go ahead and show you guys what that concept looks like. So hang on for a little bit and I'll be there. To be honest, when I was putting this together, it turned out to be a little bit more of a challenge than I was expecting, just because if you can tell, it's got that inlet box, I guess, that's designed into this tank. So trying to figure out the distance that I needed to cut these two took me a little time trying to cut it and measuring it and putting it in there to be able to get some space in the front to be able to fill it in with sand, and you won't be able to see that pipe. So let me go ahead and put that 8 crate in there and show you what it looks like. Here's the first 2 sections of it. I ended up having to cut it into about 18-inch sections roughly, and now they fit in there because that hole up there is not too big. So I've got 2 of those sections in there. Let me show you this other one situation. I got to make sure that I put these in at an angle to be able to get them in there, and then I can just kind of drop them into place. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to take that one out and cut out the section for the uplift tube. So, but that's kind of the basic idea. That's gonna, on top of that, I'm gonna put that screen mesh, which is gonna be the finer hose and prevent the sand from, siphoning down into the bottom of that plenum. So let me go ahead and take care of this, and I'll show you when it's all in there. Okay, here you go. I was able to cut that little area around the uplift tube now, and it's all set in there. So that's going to be the partition that's going to help keep the sand from going down there. Now I got to cut that nylon, not nylon, but that screen mesh, and lay it on top of that. So let me go ahead and do that. So I've continued to make some progress on this undergravel DIY filter that I'm trying to set up to create that plenum. What I've gotten as far as getting that milk crate, that light diffuser down to sit on top of those PVC pipes that I had placed to create that void. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this mesh to lay on top of that 8 crate to prevent that sand or whatever substrate I decide to put on top of it from trickling down through those holes. So let me show you here what it is that I got going on. As you can see, I'm still in the process of measuring and cutting. As far as the 8 crate is concerned, I did have to section it off into 3 pieces, because of the limiting fact of this entryway here. So I just cut it into 3 sort of equal pieces, and was able to lay it down there. So now what I'm trying to figure out are these cuts that I have to make, like right in here, to get this to get a little bit stretched out. I do have some excess fabric from the screening, which I'm still debating whether I'm going to remove it or just leave it on there, which I don't think is going to create a problem. But this is what I have going on now. I'll get back to you as soon as I get it all squared away, and then take it to the next step, which would be to start laying down my substrates that I'm going to use for this plenum. All right, we're back in the fish room. It's been a couple of days since the last video. I hadn't had a chance to continue to record because of my crazy work schedule, and I was also waiting on some things to come in that I needed to be able to continue on this 150. Let me show you a little bit of the progression that I've made, and I'll explain to you what I'm going to do today. All right, there you have it. Right now, what I've been able to do is I went ahead and did that DIY undergravel filter by using a PVC pipe, and I basically did a nest pattern on the bottom, and then I went ahead and drilled the pipes that are going down there about 1 inch apart with a 1/4 inch bit, and to be able to give it a place for that water that's going to be part in this void down here, which is going to form that plenum. To be able to seep into there and come out that lift tube right there. I also used a crate to create a platform for me to be able to sit my substrates that I'm going to use, and in order to prevent it from going into the egg crate, because as you can see, those squares are, I think, 1 inch by 1 inch, I laid over some mosquito mesh or screening material. And that's what's forming that plenum. What I did, I had a couple of bags of some that colored gravel you can buy, those 25-pound bags, and I hadn't used it on anything. And I figured, since I was going to try to create some volume at the back end of this fish tank, which is 30 inches tall, I knew I was going to need a lot of material, so I decided to use it here. And then once I laid down that gravel, which is blue, and like you saw in the other clips that I put on, I used some soil that I had laying around, some extra soil from leftover projects, and put it over the top of that. So now what I need to go do is go collect some gravel from my hardware store. I mean my hardscaping store. And it's pretty big. It's probably one of the biggest stores out here. And I'll show you right now what it is. All right, well, come with me. All right, I'm in the car. Unfortunately, my wife has got the truck, so I gotta drive my car. Not the best option for where I'm going, but nonetheless, I'll make it work. So as some of you guys know, I live out here in Arizona. And one of the upsides of living out here is that there's a lot of resources. I was half jokingly when I said I was going to go to my hardscape store. It's not really a joke, but it is in a way. So let me show you where it is that I collect all my hardscape. And some of you guys might have a similar store in your neighborhood. Alright, so I'm out here at, like I said, this is my favorite hardscape store. I don't know how big this place is, but it has abundant of resources you could use. I wouldn't be surprised that many of you have this type of store in your area. You just haven't gone out and looked. I really do encourage you sometimes to just get out and as much as I love to support local fish shops, sometimes it's good to go and support some other stuff. And by that I mean sometimes support yourself by not having to spend a lot of money. Just thinking about that, I want to say that buying hardscape could be pretty expensive, and there's no need for that. I recently came across a video from IFG where he was going to go shopping for some rocks for some scapes that he was going to do in his tanks, and I thought that was wonderful that he decided to go to a landscaping store and be able to buy rocks and stuff like that at a very reasonable price, because when you buy hardscape, it's usually by the pound, and they were literally cents on the pound for the hardscape he was able to get. But I think I got one even up on him. I found a place where you can't beat the prices. So let's get on with it. I'll show you what it is that I'm talking about. Alright, so let me show you what it is that I'm talking about. Welcome to the Desert R Us, where the infinite amount of hardscape. there's no reason why you're spending so much money on hardscape when all you really need to do is look around where you live. I see some driftwood here. There's plenty of rock, all the rock you can imagine that you want to use, and all the substrate. All it takes is just a little bit of imagination and willingness to go out and look, and you will find what you need for your aquariums. For example, over here they got a pile already of wood that you could easily take, clean it out, treat it, and put it in your tanks. So there really is no excuse why you can't have scape tanks when all it takes is to be able to just have a little bit of imagination and willingness to go look for it. So I'm gonna go grab me some substrate, and I'll show you what I end up taking. Well, here you have it. Took me a few minutes to get it, but there it is. I got 3 buckets full of small gravel, medium-sized gravel. I'm still going to do some sorting when I get home, but that's nothing. I mean, I got some strainers that I can use and be able to sort through this real quick. But again, I just wanted to kind of share with you guys that there's a lot of ways you can do this without really having to spend a whole lot of money. Like I said, all it takes is a little bit of imagination and a little bit of work, and you can find everything you need out of here in nature. So let's get this stuff back so I can continue to work on that tank. All right, so we're back in the fish room. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of sort this out. I want to separate. What I'm trying to separate out is I don't want any of this larger rocks to go for my bottom layer of that substrate. What I'm trying to do is I want this stuff right here. This is what I want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through a strainer to be able to separate these parts, and then just kind of keep this real coarse kind of gravel, which is going to be my base layer. The only reason I want to use this is because I don't want it to be able to go through the screen that I used. I'm a little concerned that if I use this type of material, it'll be too fine and it'll probably work its way through it. So the idea is to put a base layer of this stuff here, and then start making my lasagna with the clay, the laterite, and then my top cap, which will probably be this. And if I don't have enough of that, I've got some pole sand filter that I can also use, or I'll probably combine them. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm not going to bore you with the process of sorting this. I'll just show you when I'm done. Oh yeah, by the way, this is what I'm going to use to sort it out. Basically what I do is just kind of grab this stuff in there. What doesn't go through there is what I'm going to separate from it. All this is I got this at Wally World. And it's a paint strainer, one that you would actually put in a bucket if you're doing the roller paints, and that's what I'm using. It's fine enough for the stuff that I want, and it'll keep the larger rocks out of there. And then I usually store these for other projects. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Well, here's the whole bucket sorted out, and this is what I'm looking for: a coarse gravel that I can lay down as a base, just to make sure that it doesn't, work its way through the mesh of that screen, and be able to hold all the other substrates I'm going to put on there. So it's a little dusty. I'm going to go ahead and put it in like that. I'll let it sort out itself. If I need to do a water change, I'll do some water changes. But I just wanted to show you what it was what I wanted to achieve with siphoning that. And here's a little bit of what came out of there. And now I have some small pebbles that I can use and to cover some areas, and some other stones. All this stuff that's here on the floor and down here is all stuff that I've done for that same area on different occasions. And if you look in my tanks, they all have rocks that I sourced from that area. Just to do some of that scaping. This one was one of the ones that I definitely used a lot of that stuff from. So it just comes in handy to be able to go out there, because if I was to pay for all of this, it would have been real expensive. So let me get back to what I was doing, and I'll show you how it looks once I put it in there. So this is what I'm going to be using that fine gravel for, or that medium to coarse gravel like you see in here. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay it down all in here, and once I get all that mesh area covered up, that's going to be my base layer. And then on top of that, I'm going to go ahead and start adding the substrates that I need to be able to create that plenum in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I started here, and I realized I wasn't recording. So I just wanted to show you guys. I'm going to lay this all down here, and then once I get done with that and I'm satisfied with it, I'll start layering the other medias, so that I can go ahead and finish off that plenum. And as you can see, what I do want is some of this to fill in here, so you won't be able to see this from the front, because I definitely don't want that to look like that's when you see it. So this, I've got screen that's coming down, so that's going to prevent it from going into the back. But I do want it to fill in like it's doing here. So let me go ahead and continue to do this, and I'll show you guys the final result. Okay, so that's what that first layer is going to look like. I've got that coarse gravel on there. I've managed to get some of it to come up to the front, so we don't get to see that. The more I manipulate this, the more that smaller pieces you can get in there. You will no longer be able to see, like here, where I have the plenum under there, which is my goal. So the next step is I'm going to go ahead and start layering the materials I'm going to need to create that plenum in here, which is going to be the kitty litter for the clay source, and then I'll layer on top of that some of that laterite, and at the very top I'll cap it off with some fine sand. I'm still not sure whether I'm going to go ahead and use the natural stuff or the pool filter, or a combination of both, but that's just kind of wanted to show you the progression as I continue to put this together. Well, here's going to be the first layer of that kitty litter that I'm going to use. This is what I use, and I use this because this is what Dr. Novak recommends in his channel. Not necessarily this, but that's the one that he was using. But he says that as long as it's natural clay with no fragrance and it's the non-clumping litter, you should be able to use it. It could be quick absorb, any of the clay-based kitty litter or absorbs. As long as with kitty litter, the concern is make sure it doesn't have any fragrances and it's not the clumping type. This is the non-clumping. So this is what I'm going to use. I've used that in here and in this one, and so far I'm very happy with the clarity of both of those tanks. So I'm going to try it on this one here. Hopefully I get the same results. Well, here's the kitty litter on there now. So the next step is going to be adding that laterite. But before I do that, I got it to build up here in the front, and I was trying to reach it, but it's kind of hard. And unfortunately, I have some aquascaping tools, but I don't have a blade. But that's not a problem, because I was able to make my own blade. Now, this is just something I had there, and I figured this would help. All I need is a straight edge to be able to level some of that stuff out. And it gives me the length that I need to be able to do that. But, you know, sometimes it just pays to be resourceful. So let me go ahead and do what I need to do. Okay, now that I've got all that kitty litter in there, the next step is to go ahead and add the laterite. Laterite I'm going to be using is this one here. It's from Brightwell Aquatics. I got this on Amazon. I want to say I paid like $13 for it. All it is like a real fine powdered iron source. According to Dr. Novak, you can use this. You can use red potting clay. You can use some of the clay-based substrates that have a lot of iron. I think I don't know if it's Seachem or well, one of those I think it's Flourish or something like that. That have the iron rich substrates. So but what you want to add is basically some an iron source to that clay. Recently I heard, but I don't know how well it works, some people were taking the terracotta pots, the ones that are red, and breaking them down to powder form to be able to get iron out of it. If that works or not, I don't know. It's the first time I hear of somebody doing that, but there might be something to it, since if you use the red clay potting, the red potting clay, which is what the terracotta pots are made out of. So I guess there's something there, but I haven't done it. This is a lot easier to source for me, so I go with this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this stuff and I'm going to spread it on the top of this and try to do it evenly to generate another layer on top of that. So that's part of the different layers that I've been putting into here. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it's going to look like. As you guys can see, I've already added that fine layer of laterite in here, and all I did was just sprinkle it evenly all over the kitty litter. You don't need a whole lot. I just did enough to cover a thin layer to cover the surface, and with that you have the components you need to be able to make that plenum. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and cap this off with about 2 inches of sand, because I don't want that stuff coming up to the surface of the tank. Luckily what's going to go in here doesn't really dig or mess around with my substrate, so I shouldn't have any issues like I've had in the Acaro tank. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it looks like once I've added all the cap on this. So I'm going to use sand for that. Okay, as you can see, I've already capped that. You don't see any of that laterite, the red dust. That's all been capped. So I think now I'm ready to start placing some of my hardscape, and we'll do that. I ended up using full filter sand. That's what I have on there. And I have some medium-sized gravel that I'm going to use after to finish off the detailing. But just wanted to share this with you. As you can see, the layers are getting pretty thick. I'll show you guys up here in the front. This is my hand, so you guys get a reference of an idea. It's it's every bit of 5 inches to 6 inches in the front. Obviously some of this is going to settle once they start adding water, but that's the general idea. As you can see, we have the different layers of substrate, which is what I was trying to accomplish. So let me go ahead, and I know the inside's a little bit dirty, but once I get water in there, it'll clear up. Let me go ahead and get the hardscape in here, and we'll see what I come up with. So hang on. Okay, I started putting that hardscape in there. This is what I'm going to go with. This side I haven't put that small detail gravel yet. I just kind of wanted to show you what it's going to look like. I still need to touch up some of these areas, but that's just the general idea. It's going to leave me quite a bit of room in the back to be able to plant it, as you guys can see. And I've purposely left some areas within the rocks to try to see if I can put some plants in there, and see if I can get some sort of effect. So you can see this side already has some of that finer media in there to kind of give it a little bit more finished look. This side I still have to do it. So just to kind of share with you a little bit of what it's looking like, and the next time you guys will see this is when it already has water in there, and that'll clear up some of this dust that's inside the aquarium right now. Okay. All right. So last evening I went ahead and filled it up with water, and it's starting to clear up now. This is what it's going to look like. I still have to add some plants to it. I've already placed an order. I'm waiting for them to get here. But in the process, I already started the cycling on this tank. What I did, I took one of my well, actually the sponge that I took was this one back here from this tank. And what I did to jumpstart the cycle was I squeezed it in here to release all that moam that's within that sponge, and hopefully you can see where it's seated down here. Eventually what I'll do is I'll do a water change and I'll be able to pick that all that moam out of here, which I'm going to let this run just to be on the safe side for about a week without actually introducing these guys into there, because I really want to make sure it's completely cycled. I never have had such amount of water volume, so I know on these I can almost instantly cycle them by taking media from another cycled tank, placing it in there. As a matter of fact, actually I was able to do that with this one. That big sponge filter that's back there was one that I had in I had two running on each end of this one, so I just took one out of here, put it in here, and almost instantly cycled this tank for the goldfish. Let me, hold on, I had to move that stair out of the way. But anyways, that's what I did with this one here. I could similarly do that with this one up here. As you can see, I have a couple of three sponge filters down there that I could run for about a week in here. But I'm just gonna let this take its course. I'm in no hurry. Like I said, I don't have the plants yet, so I can't finish scaping it like I want to. So for the time being, I'm just gonna let it run. In order to keep some of the cycle, I've dropped in some snails in there. So hopefully they'll be able to, there's more than that one. They're just kind of hiding around right now. But that's what this is gonna end up looking like. I still have to clean the inside of the glass, or the acrylic, I mean, and just tidy it up. But this is the first look into the 150 for the angelfish. Thank you for being here with me, and we'll catch you again once I've been able to escape all of this. And just before I leave, this is, even though it seems like it's not a whole lot of water movement coming out of there, this is ideal for the plenum. The plenum, you want slow moving water in the bottom of this system to go through there so that it can go through its I guess for layman's term, denitrification of the system, which in reality that's not even that. What it's doing is pulling the ammonia that is being produced and kind of almost bypassing that whole nitrogen cycle. For if I understood Dr. Novak correctly. The other thing that's going to happen is, if you notice, this is set up for a sump, and I've already got the tank there, and I need to start doing the plumbing because it's going to have not only the plenum, but I'm also going to do a sump filtration on this. I've never done one, so it's also part of the learning process for me. Also, to help the cycling, I took a media bag that I had that was already cycled, and I'm floating that in there. So technically, I could put the fish in here and they would be fine. I'm just being over cautiously and waiting, giving it a little bit of time. But until next time, hopefully when you see this again, it'll be all scaped and with the fish in it.